Hello everyone. This is a short video on downtime reduction for raid statics. A lot of raid statics raid for 3 or more hours in one evening and hope to clear as many raid bosses as possible. If you have ever wondered why your static seems to manage fewer raid wings in that time than other statics, this video might be for you. Downtime rarely comes in big noticeable chunks, but if you have just 1 minute of unnecessary downtime before each encounter, this might add up to half an hour of downtime over the course of an evening. Let's start with some personal tips. Number 1. When you raid, you raid. This means that you don't alt-tab out of the game unless you're absolutely sure it doesn't slow down the progress of the group. If a ready check takes longer than 1 minute, it's usually because a player isn't watching their screen actively. Tip number 2. Prepare all the characters you intend to raid with. That means you carry buff food and enhancement in sufficient quantity in your inventory, the characters are geared, and have the correct build template. Tip number 3. If you find yourself needing to swap a lot of build tabs, the ArcDPS build pad add-on is a good way to store more templates and easily copy-paste them during a run. Tip number 4. On pre-events where someone else can be kept in combat, it is generally not a smart idea to type /GG to catch up to your team. This goes for example for the bandit trio where the snipers can keep your group in combat, or for Xera where accidentally hitting the pre-event Xera might keep you in combat. In Wing 7, always assume that /GG into respawn will put you in the worst possible position. Use the ley rift to navigate the map. Tip number 5. Do not go on a chest farm inside raid wings. These chests, except for the brazier chest in Wing 1, can all be collected on your own at any time during the week. Tip number 6. If you want to swap your class for the next encounter, do that slightly before the corresponding pre-event ends. In general, it's a good idea to not swap your character if possible. Tip number 7. If you have a computer with a slow loading screen, you can map break out of the Lion's Arch aerodrome to drastically speed up the loading process. Tip number 8. Volunteer to take over mechanics. If the group is discussing for 2 minutes who does cannons at Sabetha and who does the mortars on Bandit Trio, that's 2 minutes of downtime each. Tip number 9. If your elite skill is on a 2-minute cooldown from the previous fight, still press ready in the ready check. Having the elite skill available is not even worth 3 seconds of reduced combat time, and it definitely isn't worth 2 minutes of waiting time. Now these 9 basic tips can make a pretty big difference already, and you can also use them in pickup groups over the LFG to speed up these raids. Before we go into advice specifically for statics, we will have to talk about player mentality. A raid static in the long term can only function if players get along well. But getting along well is not enough. You also need to have a shared attitude towards your raid clear and agree what a successful raid clear looks like. While all of these tips will serve to speed up a raid clear, some of them have downsides where you might sacrifice individual enjoyment just to save half a minute somewhere. Of course, these time saves then add up, but it's important that as a static, you agree that this is even desirable to do. Otherwise, conflict is pre-programmed. Tip number 1. Plan your raid clear in advance on a spreadsheet and make sure everyone checks the spreadsheet before the raid. Tip number 2. When deciding who plays what on which boss, being less specific is actually an advantage. Having a strategy that relies on someone playing a conditioned soul beast with entangle is not a good idea, because it is going to be difficult to find a replacement if that player is missing 1 week. Keep compositions as simple as possible. Tip number 3. Keep the player assignments straightforward. If a player is heal alacrity on Veil Guardian and Gorzaval, don't put him on quickness DPS for Sabetha. And if possible, keep roles consistent across raid wings. This runs the risk of jailing people on specific support classes they might not even enjoy that much, and you absolutely must make sure that all the supports involved want to do this. Tip number 4. In order to be able to jail players on roles across raid wings, it's important that every player in the squad learns all the special tasks associated with their role. For example, a heal mechanist in Wing 1 needs to be able to tank Veil Guardian and Gorsevol, and he also needs to be able to flag kite Sabetha. A DPS player, on the other hand, needs to be able to do the lamp at Kadim and pylon kite at Kadim the Peerless. A lot of statics I meet on the LFG need to switch around players before every single boss, just to cover some special roles, and this is a major contributor to downtime. Tip number 5. Escort, River of Souls, Twisted Castle, the puzzle before Mursat Overseer, the puzzle before Samarok, Gate, Spirit Run, and all the boss pre-events very easily add up to 30 minutes of playtime or more. Learning efficient strategies for these events, which might involve mesmer portals, can be a very large time save. That's it for this video already. I hope you can apply some of these tips in your raid clears. It's important that these tips are used to remove unnecessary downtime and therefore increase playtime and enjoyment for everyone involved. Do not use these tips to create a stressful atmosphere where players feel like they can't relax anymore. After all, raid clears should always be about having fun together. There are always good reasons to have a minute or two before a boss, either to set up a very specific build, or discuss some strategy, or just have a chat with your friends. You just need to be on the same page about it. As always, thanks for watching this video, and have a good day.